I'm unapologetically black. I have to take care of the tribe first. I cannot sit here and watch. This is my blood family. How you think I'm gonna be? I can't worry about nothing else. I love everybody. But right now, I gotta make moves and I gotta use my power for the advancement of black people because we last.
Nobody expected the courtroom to go silent like that. Not the reporters, not the spectators, not even the people who came just for the drama. But the moment the judge lifted his head, removed his glasses, and spoke that number out loud, everything stopped. 160 years, a number so heavy it didn't feel real. A number that didn't sound like a sentence. It sounded like a lifetime, folded into another lifetime, and then locked away for good. And the man hearing it, the same one who once ruled charts, red carpets, and VIP lounges, sat frozen in his chair as if the sound had knocked the air right out of him. Diddy didn't blink. He didn't breathe. He just stared forward, caught somewhere between disbelief and the harsh reality he'd been trying to outrun. What nobody realized was that this wasn't a sudden fall from grace. This wasn't a snap judgment or a quick scandal that spiraled out of control.
We got some information. We broke this story a couple hours ago. Diddy is behind bars, but he is enrolled in 2 classes in jail. A class for drugs and one for
domestic violence. These are programs that are offered by the federal government in the prison system for inmates, and he is enrolled in both of these programs. He's also, we're told, in therapy separate from those 2 programs. And all of these things that he's doing, typically for one reason, to look good for the judge.
Well, it's important because sentencing comes up October 3rd.
This sentence, this moment, was the end of a very long road. A road full of whispers, settlements, accusations, broken trust, and secrets he thought would never see daylight. For years, the world watched him walk freely. His public smile stayed bright, his interviews stayed confident, and the empire he built stood strong. People wondered how he stayed untouched by controversy. People asked how the smoke never caught fire. But behind closed doors, behind the walls of his mansions, behind the polished image, things were cracking. Slowly at first, then all at once. And the truth that finally reached the courtroom was a truth nobody could ignore anymore. But before the judge delivered that thunderous sentence, something else happened. Something that changed the entire direction of this case. Something Diddy and his legal team never saw coming.
He testified, excuse me, that she was Diddy's ex-assistant. She said he her in various ways multiple times. He exacted unbelievable against her, threatened her, at one point allegedly threatened to take her phone and use anything on the phone against her.
His plea deal, the one thing that could have shielded him from the worst, collapsed in the most dramatic way possible. Lied through promises, shifting stories, and last-minute desperation turned a possible 5 to 10-year agreement into a legal disaster that left the courtroom stunned. And trust me, once the truth about that deal came out, everything clicked. The delays, the panic, the sudden disappearances, the whispers that someone on the inside was flipping, the quiet meetings with the prosecution, the rumors of sealed documents, it all made sense. Because the moment the plea deal fell apart, the judge lost all patience, the jury lost all sympathy, and the mask Diddy had held onto for decades finally cracked. But before we dig into how the courtroom exploded, we need to understand how we got here. Because this story didn't start with a sentence. It didn't start with a deal.
It's finally been revealed how Diddy used his baby oil, and it's disgusting. This is Ariel Mitchell Kidd, an attorney who's representing one of Diddy's accusers, and she revealed some graphic details. The accuser was sadly R-worded by Diddy. A friend and the bodyguard invited them to Diddy's home. The attorney alleges that Diddy threatened the person with a knife. The accuser then alleges after being threatened by Diddy, they start to pull out a liquid-like substance from a fanny pack. This thing where the workers at Diddy's homes will all have fanny packs with all types and sorts of things in there that can get people disoriented, and it's really weird.
It started long before that, years back, when Diddy was still the name dominating award shows, winning accolades, and shaping the music industry from the inside out. Back then, Diddy wasn't just a star, he was untouchable. He had the network, the connections, the money, the influence. People rushed to be in his presence. Young artists dreamed of signing under him. Celebrities attended his parties like they were exclusive rites of passage. A night with him meant access to rooms most people would never see in their lifetime. And he knew the power he held. Everyone did. It wasn't subtle, it wasn't hidden. His success wasn't just professional, it was cultural. When Diddy walked into a space, that space moved. But success often hides the things people don't want to talk about. The stories that didn't match the glamorous photos. The singers who left his label with strained voices and broken spirits. The assistants who quit with no explanation.
Attorney Doug Wigdor just sent us the following statement. This entire criminal process started when our client, Cassie Ventura, had the courage to file her civil complaint in November 2023. And Kira, we should say that's true. The criminal investigation is largely based on the statements in Cassie Ventura's lawsuit, and intensified, of course, once video from the 2016 hotel security camera became public.
The employees who whispered warnings long after they left the industry. And the women, the ones who vanished from the spotlight, the ones who stayed silent, the ones who gave subtle hints but never dared to speak openly. For years, the pattern was the same. Allegations would surface, then disappear. Claims would rise, then be buried. Checks would be written, statements released, apologies printed, then life went right back to normal. It was a cycle held together by power, influence, and silence. And for a while, it worked. But the truth has a way of resurfacing when people least expect it. All it takes is one crack in the foundation, one person who decides to speak, one survivor who refuses to be quiet. And when that happened, when the first story broke through the walls of fear, others followed, slowly, then all at once. Suddenly, the things people whispered became the things people said out loud. The secrets became testimonies. The rumors became files. The stories became evidence. And that's where the plea deal came in. Behind the scenes, Diddy's legal team knew the walls were closing in. They could feel the weight of every statement, every witness, every document. They pushed for a deal before things spiraled too far. They argued that his past didn't define him, that the accusations were exaggerated, that he deserved leniency. They tried everything: character witnesses, emotional statements, sealed offers. At one point, there were even rumors he was willing to give up names, big names, names that would shake the industry if they were ever revealed publicly, names of people who were present, names of people who enabled, names of people who stayed silent. Industry insiders whispered that Diddy was ready to bring down an entire circle if it meant saving himself. But here's the twist nobody expected. The prosecution didn't care. They didn't want a deal. They didn't want softer terms. They didn't want secrets traded behind closed doors. They wanted accountability, loud, clear, and public. And when they rejected the deal, Diddy was cornered. And then the moment came that pushed everything over the edge. A witness walked into the courtroom, someone nobody expected to testify. Their story, calm but devastating, cut right through the entire defense. The jury leaned forward with every detail. The judge watched without blinking, and Diddy's lawyers looked like they had just watched the ground disappear beneath their feet. From that point on, the tone shifted completely. It was no longer a fight for innocence. It was a fight for years, for decades, for what was left of his future. And when the sentence was delivered, it felt like the final chapter of a book the world never expected to read. 160 years, a number that carried pain, consequence, and closure. A number that symbolized every voice that had gone unheard, every story buried, every silence forced. But the emotional impact didn't stop there. The cameras caught Diddy's face, not angry, not loud, but hollow. The mask he had worn for decades finally lifted. The man who once moved with confidence now looked like someone who had run out of options, out of excuses, out of time. His family sat behind him, stunned and heartbroken. His children looked confused, hurt, betrayed. The people who once depended on his power now watched that power dissolve in real time. The courtroom felt heavy. Reporters typed quietly. Security stood alert. And the judge's voice echoed like a funeral bell. Everything Diddy had built, the fame, the wealth, the legacy, felt like it turned to dust in seconds. But the story doesn't end with a sentence. It continues with the unraveling of an industry that once protected him. The artists who stayed silent are now speaking. The insiders who once helped him are stepping back. The people who once called him family are distancing themselves. And the rest of the world is watching, wondering who might be next. Because when one powerful figure falls, the fear shifts. Suddenly, everyone who stayed quiet is terrified of what might come out next. Every file, every message, every piece of evidence still sealed away. And maybe that's the biggest twist of all. This isn't just Diddy's story. It's the beginning of a much larger storm. So now the question is simple. Was justice served? Or is this just the first chapter of a truth that's about to shake the entire entertainment world? Let me know your thoughts below, because something tells me this story is far from over.